Hey, what's up, guys? Jeff Nash here, Rinks League. I thought I would give you a little bit of insight into behind the scenes of the show. Season 1 and Season 2 both filmed here in my house here in Edmonton, Alberta. Season 1 was actually filmed in my garage. I built a little studio in there, but it gets a little cold here in the Canadian winter, so I moved it inside down to my basement and built myself a little studio. I thought I'd let you have a little glimpse. Let's go check it out. So yeah, welcome to the studio. This is where all the magic happens. I thought I'd give you a little bit of a tour of the things in here. There's a lot of Easter eggs hidden in here, a lot of mementos and things that I've collected over the years when I used to work in the NHL. And I'll also give you a little bit of a tour of how I set it up because for those who are looking to start up your own blog or your own studio, you can do it relatively cheaply. Everything, of course, when it comes to video and lighting and stuff can add up quite a bit. I'm just fortunate just because of my line of work. I have access to all, and I've accumulated purchased stuff over the years, and so for me it's not that expensive. I'm just using tools that I have around the house. So let me take you on through and show you around. So yeah, like what I mentioned before is I started this show out in the garage, and mainly because of space. I needed to have space to be able to build a studio, and it was a very simple setup. I only had a white backdrop. It was going to be a locked off shot and only me on camera, so it wound up being a very simplistic show to shoot. And I did a very similar setup to this, and everything worked out well. I started shooting with the intentions of filming all my episodes in just over a month, and then slowly releasing them over the course of the year. And of course, life gets in the way, job, family, just didn't work out to be like that. So it honestly got too cold in the garage. So what I did actually was I moved everything inside, and I have a chroma key or a green screen, and what I did was I actually did a locked off shot of the background, and I filmed it in front of the green screen, and that that kind of helped me stay warm in those cold winter minus 40 degree winters. And it's a little bit more controlled setting, and it's a very simple setup shot, so shooting against the green screen worked out well. So yeah, in terms of the set, the focal point obviously is these two chairs which I have my guests on. And when they first started selling the seats from Old Rexall Place, I actually passed on the idea at first because they're expensive. They're kind of not a I guess aesthetically pleasing thing you want to just put in your living room. So I thought, no, you know what, I'm not going to do it. But then when I started pondering about doing season 2 of the show, I thought, you know what better way to interview people about rinks around the league than to actually interview them while they're sitting in a seat from one of the rinks. So you can tell they are pretty worn down. Like the handles the paint's chipped away at them. They're the original seats that are in the upper bowl of Rexall Place. So but it did take a little bit of work to get to these seats. And actually, this is what it looked like before. And then when I cleaned out the basement to make way for the studio, I kind of had a vision of what I wanted it to look like. And then I started chipping away at it. So first thing was the design. I had to sit down and actually sketch out a design of how I wanted it to look. And then when I actually got the seats, they became really the centerpiece of the show itself, to be honest. To be able to be a really cool visual of something from a rinks around a league, and something kind of cool for my guests to sit in and kind of almost be in transport them back to the rink that they used to play in some cases. So I thought it'd be a really cool element, but we had to decide on how we were actually going to bolt these things down, because if you look at the footings, they are bolted, which would be at the concrete at Rexall. And I didn't know how I was going to get this ready for a guest to sit in. I thought about skids on each side, and which we could have done, but it might have looked uh, a little amateurish, I guess. I wanted to look clean and simple, so we actually bolted it to the floor here in the basement. And so once we lined it up and picked a spot for it to go, that's when my good friend Kiadomo, you can follow him on Twitter. He came over and he really helped me out a lot with figuring out how to anchor these seats to the floor, and then also he helped me put the flooring in, because I didn't want it, obviously this is my basement floor and I wanted to look a little bit more professional. So I actually got the cheapest laminate I could get at Home Depot, and he helped me measure it all, cut it all, and put it into place. So he was a huge help in making the show look the way it looks today. So once the floor and the chairs were installed, then I had to kind of plot out where I wanted all the props and stuff to go. And it took a little bit of measuring to do. I knew I wanted the patches to be kind of front and center, along with a couple of shelves, and the two kind of big picture frames. And I'll explain their kind of function here in a little bit. I also wanted kind of a little bit of a jersey collector. I don't have a huge amount of money to collect a whole ton of jerseys, but I love jerseys. I love branding. I love logos. I love patches. And I have a decent collection here, and I wanted to kind of showcase that a little bit with the teams of the Rinks that I actually are going to be talking about. So, but back to functionality, I had to have two big soft boxes to kind of light up the whole set, and then I have a hot light up here to kind of add a little bit of backlighting to the two subjects, just to kind of give that little bit of a professional lighting look to it. So, having traveled around the league and working for the Oilers, I have quite a collection of just kind of unique items. One thing, when I worked there, I made a point of doing some cool stuff for the staff. So I managed a small group of team at the Oilers, and the whole digital team there for almost all my years there. I wanted to give something to them as a thank you for their hard work. So every season I kind of blew up one of the photos that I took and got the team to sign them all and framed them. Went to IKEA, got some cheap frames, and gave them to all the staff as a form of a thank you. And it was just my way of giving back to them, because for those who don't know, like, it doesn't matter where you are in terms of what department on each team, you're working a lot, right? You're putting a lot of hours in, and I'm a big believer in showing people some sort of gratitude for their hard work. So these ones are actually images that I've taken. I have one here. This is old Rexall Place, and it's if you follow my Instagram or Twitter, I've done a photo like this in every single venue in the NHL. So I got the team to sign it. I think this was my first year, because I think Yakupov and Hall, Schultz, they all signed these ones. But now looking back, it's kind of a pretty iconic photo, because you got the Derek, which of course they don't use anymore, plus the whole Rexall Place ice and the stands, and then the banners around. So it's kind of a cool picture. The season before we left for Rogers Place, it was Farewell Rexall. And for those of you who went to Rexall Place, you will recognize this. This was the cover of the kind of souvenir program that you got when you walked in the door. It had this picture on it. So when they came up with the patch, I actually photographed the patch and the jersey, and they used that as the cover of that souvenir program. So I blew it up, and this one's pretty cool, not only because it's Farewell Rexall, but the team at the time signed it. So Connor and Taylor Hall and Yakupov, Matt Hendricks, they all signed it. But then, oddly enough, the team only signed this kind of area, and they left the rest blank. So I actually got the entire coaching staff to sign it. So you had Tom McClellan, Chris Davey, Happy. A lot of the training staff and medical staff also signed it too. So it's kind of a unique piece. It's the entire team and the medical and coaching staff too. So that's kind of neat. And just to flip over here real quick, this was the locker room shot as well. So, again, something that I always put together for my staff as a form of a thank you. And so collecting things like that and just putting them up on the wall in frames, obviously it looks really cool. And along the same lines as Farewell Rexall Place, this is actually the first run of the Farewell Rexall patch. So when they design it, they'll do, you know, basically proofs of what it'll look like, and this is actually the first run patch. So that's those were actually sewn on the jerseys for that night, and this was the demo patch. So I'm able to, you know, keep that. And beside that is opening inaugural season at Rogers Place. They gave everybody these kind of metal tickets to commemorate the opening night at Rogers Place. So that was pretty cool, and this is just my nameplate that they gave me when I first started with the Oilers in 2013. Working my way across the shelves here, I've got some books and some projects that I've worked on over the past. This one, for those who work in media, this is kind of the badges of honor working through the league. So I collected all my media passes. I'm sure a lot of people in the industry do, and I decided to frame really important ones, but also ones that ones from each team. So just to kind of give you a quick rundown, there's one representing every single NHL team. I worked at Hockey Canada for a few years, so I have some tournaments that I worked at. You got the SO Cup, RBC Cup, and what else we got? A Memorial Cup, 2001. That was in Regina. This was Connor McDavid's draft year. This is the Men's Olympic Camp in 2001. So this is the team that won gold in Salt Lake City. These were my first Oilers patches back in 2002 that I've held on to. So I've held on to them for a long time. You know, Martin Brodeurs retirement night, Leon Draisaitl. That was my first draft. Leon Draisaitl got drafted, and these are all kind of just various ID badges that I got over the years. We used to do team photos, staff photos. I believe this is my first ever staff photo, so I'm in there somewhere. I'm right there, right in the middle, right there. And right beside it is my old Junior B team. Back when I played Junior B, there's a young Jeff Nash right there. Wainwright Junior B Bisons. That was our team. Also on the shelves, I collected toques and hats, and you know, these ones obviously weren't Oilers ones, but whenever I went to an NHL city, I would always grab, you know, mementos or toques. I really like the Winter Classic toques that they made. Big Blackhawks fan. Rangers 90th anniversary. And yeah, so those are kind of what's on these kind of shelves. This one was really cool. When I went to Anaheim on a family trip, it was actually perfect timing that Paul Kariya, they were retiring his jersey. So my son Sam and I, we went to the game, and it was really cool. It was just completely, it was one of my favorite players growing up. So it was perfect timing. Just coincidentally, we planned a family trip to Anaheim, and we looked on and got tickets to the game, and it was a really cool night. Kind of front and center in this frame is patches that I've collected. Now, when I went to Rinks around the league, I would have loved to buy jerseys from each NHL city, but I couldn't afford that. So the trade-off was to collect patches, because patches they sell in the team stores are usually around $15. They're not really overly expensive, and they're pretty intricate. And I kind of have a thing for patches, so I collected patches originally from everything that I would go to, and then I got some former coworkers and friends to kind of send me patches throughout the league. So some pretty rare ones on here. We've got the Oilers 40th anniversary patch, which you can't buy retail. The greatest team, the Oilers announced they had the greatest team of the NHL. A lot of 50-year patches. Paul Kariya, the Sabres. This one, the Pittsburgh Penguins Stronger Than Hate patch is a pretty special one as well. The LA All-Star Game, the Golden Knights inaugural season, farewell to the Joe. This one's not a patch, but it's something that I asked my contact down in in Florida if I could have a patch when the mass shooting happened down in Florida. It's not a patch, but it obviously represents that dark time in Florida. So that's a pretty special one for me as well. On this one, I have press passes. Why is this one green? This is just a lot of green duct tape. So if you do video and you understand how to shoot video and produce, you'll understand that's keying. So if you look carefully on all my episodes, this will actually change with every guest and every episode that I do. So on season 1, this will actually change to the rink that I'm talking about. So instead of doing a great big printout of the rink that I'm talking about, because I have photos of every rink, instead of printing them out and taking the frame down and putting it in the frame, I just digitally put it in there. A lot easier for me, and it's one of those subtle things maybe you don't notice when you watch the episode, but if you pay close attention, it does swap out every single time, and just adds a little bit of uniqueness to the overall set, so it changes every episode. Not much, but a little bit, and I think every little bit helps. So that's why that one's green. All right, let's talk jerseys for a second. Like I said, I collected a little bit, have a little bit of a collection going on. Most of them are Oilers jerseys, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of showcase the variety of different jerseys. So I have a little bit of everything here. Obviously, Oilers jerseys, old and present. A lot of Hockey Canada jerseys. Obviously, I used to work at Hockey Canada for a number of years, so I have a lot of Hockey Canada stuff. But even stuff like this is an original vintage San Jose Shark jersey that I got. My parents bought me in grade 7. The Winter Classic jerseys. I was a huge fan of this season of Winter Classic. The Boston Bruins. I love the simplicity of it. The Chicago Blackhawks one. That one's really cool. And then going back retro style again. This is one of my first jerseys I ever had as a kid. It's an old Team Canada jersey, and my parents got my name on the back with my number. But again, another Hockey Canada one. But if you watch the show, this will often switch out. So this one is still here from my good friend Penzi was here in studio. I left the Boston one up for him, but I have plenty more that I keep kind of hanging up here. Everything from an old, I think this is a 2007 All-Star jersey from Minnesota Wild. I have a Paul Kariya Mighty Duck jersey, the rare green Team Canada jersey from the World Juniors that were in Saskatoon, Regina. Again, a lot of Oilers jerseys. Let's see, Blackhawks jersey. That's definitely one of my favorites. Let's see, more Oilers, more Team Canada, more Oilers. Lot of Oilers stuff. Obviously, I was a big fan when I was growing up. These two photos are framed and are very important to me for a few reasons. So back when I first started starting out in journalism, I actually went and covered a game between the Oilers and the Rangers, and I was always a big Gretzky fan growing up. And when he came that year, 1999, I picked that game to go as a member of the media. So when we were covering that game, we didn't know at the time it was going to be Gretzky's last game in Edmonton. There was kind of rumors he was going to retire that year, and this was not only as a fan a really cool experience, but everyone kind of whispered that he was going to be retiring that year. So I actually grabbed this photo of him in the locker room after his final game, and I don't know why. I just, it's a very simple picture of Gretzky, and I guess I liked it because it's kind of simple. It's kind of has a very candid moment in the locker room, and I have him looking down at another picture that I've taken of him when we were doing the '84 Stanley Cup reunion, doing some video shoots there. So I kind of have, it's kind of funny, I have him looking at himself there. But I took this photo back in his last game, and took a photo of his stall. on his last game here after morning skate. And yeah, just moments in time where I kind of decided to take some photos. Wound up being his last game, so it kind of wound up being a pretty historic game. And yeah, I blew him up and kind of have him. I thought they'd be a nice addition to the set, and not only with my experience working with him when he was a member of kind of the senior management team of the Oilers later on when we moved into Rogers. It's kind of a cool piece of history that I hang up on the wall. Part of the set too, I wanted to leave some spots for some co-branding and sponsorship. So my good friends at Second String Leather Company, if you look on the show, I have some of their product displayed, kind of in between myself and the guests. So again, just kind of some branding opportunities to get some sponsorship associated with the show and with the set. So yeah, guys at Second String Leather Company. Awesome dudes. They helped me out with some gifting for my guests and also some props for the set. So that worked out pretty well. And last but not least, this shelf I've kind of dedicated to some pretty important things, some pretty important pieces of the set. And first off, this is a Connor McDavid autographed puck. So before we even drafted Connor, we knew we had won the lottery, and myself and one of my previous guests, Tom Gazzola, we went to Buffalo for the NHL Combine. We got there a day early because CCM was going to have a press conference with Connor, and just as a cool thank you for attending the press conference, CCM gave everyone in attendance a Connor McDavid puck with an autograph, and that was before he actually was an Edmonton Oilers. So cool little memento of his era, the start of his era in Edmonton. This next one is a picture of myself, my dad, and my sister. I believe this is during the 1988 Olympics. They brought the Stanley Cup around to show fans, and so this is just a Polaroid picture of my dad. Obviously, we were Oilers fans growing up, myself and my sister, and it's such a cool photo. Definitely hanging on to this. And then this one here, I just think is a really cool photo. These are my Japanese relatives, my grandpa, my grandfather, and his brothers playing on the frozen prairies. So this is such a cool photo. Obviously, hockey is a pastime for many Canadians, and back then, it was tough growing up as a Japanese Canadian or an Asian in Canada, and I just thought it's cool that it didn't matter kind of how they were perceived in the country. They adopted the pastimes of the country, and obviously they took up hockey. And one of the cool reasons why I love this photo so much is you got my relatives on a frozen pond. They're all on skates. It's vintage hockey sticks. You can tell they didn't really have hockey gloves because he's wearing one side of the glove and he's wearing the other side of the glove. So obviously they didn't have a whole lot of equipment to share around. To use, so they had to share the equipment that they had down. The cool hats, smoking darts. I just think it's a really cool photo and something that adds a little bit of family to my set, my distant relatives, and it's a really cool photo, and it's one of the last things I added to the set, but it's a very important piece for myself. Really happy and proud to have that on my set. And that's it. That's kind of a quick tour of my my set, my studio. It took a little while to put together, but I hope you appreciate it. And now that you know a little bit of the stories behind some of the stuff behind us when we talk, maybe gives you a little bit of appreciation to all the little details of the set. So thanks for watching, and next time you watch an episode, now you know some of the stories.